Hey everybody, Quincas, since the DIY got here. Happy New Year, Merry Christmas, and I'd like to show you guys what Santa brought me. This nice NS design electric upright bass. Here's my dog, Brigitte. Here's my wife and my son. Say hi everybody.
Hi.
Hello. Can't really see them because of the backlight, but anyway, where is my little daughter, Nina?
Yeah.
Say hi. No, say hi. Say hi, Lucas.
Hello.
That's my big son. He's 18, and he's also a great musician. Also a great musician. Assuming I'm a great musician. Anyway, this is my Ross Lamont case that's been out of commission for a little while because I had originally put on some switchers, some switching power supplies that were not super stable. I had 4 of these guys, 4 of these little Meanwell dealies in there, 1 for each row of 3U. And recently I've replaced that with an actual one of these, which is the V-Brazil Modular linear power supply based on these adjustable regulators, the 317 and 337, and this turned out to be much better. One of these on each case, and I made this little makeshift Christmas box here for the transformers, and they get connected to the case. 1 transformer for each case, just because I had 2 transformers and 1 wouldn't be enough. So anyway, this video is just to say Happy New Year, and it's a little bit of a teaser of the Befaco Hexmix System, which is going to be my next video series. So it's the Hexmix VCA right here, if you can see it underneath all the cables. The actual Hexmix, the main mixer, and I've also built the Hexpander, which adds to each channel. It adds PFL headphone monitoring, 3 effect stands with effects masters, and it has headphone output with its own individual volume, and you can crossfade between the main output, which is the same as here, and the PFL, so you can actually monitor stuff before you send it out to the main mix. I actually have the VCA. You can have it connected from the back via a ribbon cable, so that you don't need to use, but I actually like to have them separate, so I can use the VCAs for CV sometimes, and I also like to sometimes just plug in things that are not even going through VCA, like drones and voices that already have their own VCA, like the No Coast right here. So yeah, I'm pretty psyched because I finally got this 12U case going here. Maybe you've seen that lately I've been using a 6U case, so now I can have more stuff. So this bottom case right here is really kind of thought out as the main instrument with some controllers as well, and here the flip switches on the Hexmix are actually, I consider that kind of a performance control as well. Right, and here's the Erica Synth stuff up here, and right here on this slot, in 2 days I'll be getting 2 Pico DSPs from Erica Synths that are gonna go into the effects send returns in the Hexmix system. So I already left a 6U slot right there, and up here is a whole bunch of other stuff that's just gonna complement the bottom box, so some more oscillators and LFOs and the lines, controller, lots of sample and hold, and another filter right there. This is a quadruple attenuverter with amplification. Here's the chord organ, V-Brazil phase shifter, ornament and crime, 8S sequencer, another couple of VCAs from Erica Synths, because you know you can never have enough VCAs. I like to have my Music Thing Modular microphony right next to the elements, because I like to use those in conjunction, like the microphony going through the resonator in the elements. But anyway, I had this really cool patch put together to sort of test out the Hexmix system, and I'm gonna show you guys what this patch is all about. So here we go. Alright, so let me explain this crazy patch that I made here. Yesterday I published a piece in my own personal channel called Turbulence, and it's a performance based on this patch that you see right here. It's a very complex patch, something you would probably consider West Coast synthesis. I didn't use any of my filters. I have 3 filters and I didn't use any of them. I did use some wave folders and complex oscillations. I didn't even get into FM too much, but I have a lot of random sources, random voltage sources in this system. So there's a sample and hold in the multi-LFO. There's a sample and hold in the modulator by Erica Synths. There's a sample and hold, which is the random voltage output of the no coast, and a few different random sources in my Erica Synth swamp module. And I'm using all of them to generate 6 of what you'd call generative or chaotic or Krell kinds of voices. And the way to perform them is by turning on and off the different channels, which are panned left and right in my Hexmix mixer. And they're also going through the effects send into my Elements resonator. So the Elements is acting sort of an effects processor, and the Elements frequency is being controlled simultaneously by a slow, really slow LFO from the fixed sine bank right here, as well as via this AB switch that I made, my Patch Pal AB switch. I can switch from 2 different control sources. One of them is this 8S sequencer right here, and the other is my joystick. So I can control it manually via the joystick, or I can have it be controlled by the sequencer. The sequencer's frequency is ramping up and down because the clock source is the swamp clock output, and I'm sending the swamp CV from another slow LFO from the fixed sine bank right here. So the swamp sampling frequency is also ramping up and down according to this LFO right here. And the swamp is actually the source of audio because it has audio outputs. It has 2 oscillators, the tone and the swamp oscillator. The swamp oscillator is going into my first Hexmix VCA channel, which in turn is going into my first Hexmix channel right here. And that's what this sounds like. So you see the frequency of the clocking is being ramped by an LFO, and it's generating this chaotic oscillation, audio range oscillation. Now the second channel of the Hexmix VCA is getting its audio from the other oscillator of the swamp module, which is the tone oscillator. So that's what this sounds like. Right? So that's channels 1 and 2, and channel 3 of my Hexmix VCA is getting its audio from channel 4. Actually, this is very non-linear, but anyway, it's how I patched it. Channel 4 of the Hexmix VCA, which is getting audio from the Chopping Kinky, which is the Befaco wavefolding module. The Chopping Kinky is actually getting audio from 2 oscillators, my 2 Erica Synths Polyvox oscillators, and I'm feeding the chop input, which is what alternates between the 2 inputs. I'm feeding it from the LFO right here, one of the analog LFOs in the multi-LFO. This analog multi-LFO is getting CV control from the swamp stepped output, so it's actually a random frequency. Right, so the Chopping Kinky is getting randomly chopped between the 2 channels, and it's also getting CV from 2 different kind of quick LFOs from my sine bank right here. So it's the folding is being swept by that. So that's what this sounds like. Well, the VCA is actually being controlled by the Ornament and Crime output A, which right now is in the low stage, so it's not sounding. So let me remove it so we can hear it. So that's the Chopping Kinky voice, right? And it's being swept in and out as the Ornament and Crime in Quadraturia mode, which is a quad LFO. As that goes up and down, it's actually fading in and out some of my voices, right, including this one. So now voice number 4 in my Hexmix right here is getting audio from Hexmix VCA channel 6 actually, which is getting its audio from the no coast. And the no coast is set up as a chaotic random voice on its own, with its own random voltage source controlling the decay of the contour, the frequency, and the time of the slope generator. The end of cycle of the slope generator is triggering one side of the rampage, which is actually acting as an envelope generator for my second channel, which we've already seen is one of the swamp voices, right? The other side of my rampage module is controlling the first voice of the Hexmix VCA, which is the other swamp voice, and that's getting triggered by the multi-LFO third LFO square wave output. This LFO is also having its frequency controlled externally by another slow LFO from my sine bank right here. But anyway, voice 4 is the no coast, and that's what this is sounding like. And here's the joystick controlling the element's pitch. Alright, now it just phased out because this voice is also being controlled by the ornament and crime. So right now the ornament and crime LFO went down and we don't hear the voice anymore. So now voice 5 is getting audio from this oscillator right here. It's a saw wave from my first Erica Synths oscillator, and it's just going straight in there without any filtering or folding or anything, and it's being controlled by another output of my ornament and crime. That's what's fading in and out. And since I'm sending it via the effect send right here, I'm sending it to the elements, that's what gives it certain character that goes beyond just the saw wave. So that's what this sounds like. There we go. As the LFO goes up, we start hearing the voice. Now let's switch the elements so that it's getting controlled by the sequencer. That's really cool. Right, now it's phased out again. So that's the saw wave from Erica Synths Oscillator 1. And the 6th voice and last voice of this patch is getting audio from VCA 3 of my Hexmix VCA, which in turn is getting audio from, let's follow this spaghetti. That's the braids in vowel mode, and the braids is getting controlled. Well, pretty much all of the CV inputs are being used. The voltage per octave input is getting control voltage from the no coast's random voltage via this little ninja star right here. That's splitting that random voltage to go everywhere. The FM input is getting from the ornament and crime output D, right? So one of the slow phased LFOs of the ornament and crime is also controlling the frequency of the braids in vowel mode. Now the timbre of the braids is being controlled by the Lizard 2 as a sequencer right here. And the Lizard 2 sequence is getting its clock, it's getting FM frequency modulation from this multiple, which is getting its voltage from the multi-LFO sample and hold right here. So it's a random voltage that I'm sending to the Lizard 2 as a sequencer, as well as to Oscillator 2. Erica Synths Oscillator 2 is also getting that same random voltage from the multi-LFO in sample and hold mode. And the color CV input of the braids is getting voltage from the third LFO triangle wave of the multi-LFO right here. And this third LFO is also getting CV control from another slow sine wave from the fixed sine bank right here. So it's also ramping up and down as the LFO goes up and down. And that's what the braids voice sounds like. So I think that's it. That's the basic idea. I just created complex
chaotic, random, however you want to call them, voices, 6 different ones, and I sent them to each of the 6 channels of the Hexmix, and they're all going into the elements as an effects processor. And the idea is to perform by turning these on and off, and you can sort of give the composition a shape by being sparse with it. So you can sort of just like turn one channel on and hear the decay of the elements, reverb, and then another one, and then start making it denser and turning more channels on as you go, and then it gets incredibly complex, and then you can start deconstructing again and turn them off at the end, which really shows off. And this video is a bit of a teaser of the Hexmix system, which is going to be my next series of videos. I'm going to show you how to build the Hexmix VCA, then the Hexmix, then the Hexpander, and then I'll do a big demo focused on them, right? Especially once I have my Pico DSPs right in this slot here, so I can make the most out of the effects sense. So here we go. Let's turn these on one by one and do a little bit of an improv using this patch, so you get an idea. But really the best example will probably be watching my turbulence video in my own channel. And please subscribe my personal channel too, because that's where I usually put my musical experiments that are not Cynthia White Guy videos. Okay, here we go. So that's it. That was a quick demonstration of the patch. Go to my channel, watch my turbulence video, and have a great new year. Stay tuned for the Hexmix videos coming up soon. Please like this video and subscribe to my channel and help us out on Patreon if you can. And that's it for today. See you later. Stay noisy.